We're seeing a fair amount of new product innovation requirements. The people in this particular industry have a requirement to get shelf space. And, to get shelf space, you have to adjust to the actual retailer that's selling it, whether it's in a grocery or specialty store. And you really have to be responsive to what the customers are demanding. Having the ability to do fast new product innovations and get those out to market is one of the key challenges we see food and beverage facing, especially. And then you move over to demand planning and fulfillment. Most of food and beverage has very diverse life and planning cycles because you have seasonality, you have the consumer's behavior, you have weather impact, you have even things like social media impact. When somebody says something about they received a spoiled product or a contaminated product and how that can get out and affect things. So, and in addition to that, all the materials that are typically used in food and beverage, as a material that's grown or taken from an animal, it has regional requirements, it has seasonality to it. There are only certain times of the year that you can harvest certain vegetables, potatoes, all those types of things. And then depending on where you're getting your product in the world, that can be affected now by climate change, trade barriers that keep getting thrown up, political disruptions in some of the countries. If you're dealing with products like bananas or you're dealing with those types of things, they can be disrupted pretty easily and that affects your product. So having a real robust demand planning and fulfillment system really helps with that. Clean labeling that's coming really because consumers are demanding to know what the provenance of the products are. And then, of course, the retailers are trying to ensure that they can provide that to their consumers. So there's a lot of data transparency to support those trends, and that's part of this clean labeling requirement. So someone can pick up a product, they may scan a QR code, and it'll tell them whether or not there's any food additives that have been used, whether there's colorations that are in it, and that will help to maintain the labeling requirements that are out there. And then some of the sustainability schemes that you're seeing, like in the US right now, the labeling a product with country of origin requirements. So that's all part of this clean labeling initiative that's across the food and beverage industry particularly. And then consumer behavior in food and beverage, there's a lot of change in consumer demand. What form of protein are they going to consume? Moving away from red meats and looking for organic, sustainable ingredients in the products that they're consuming. This is getting more and more focused. And then some startup companies don't have the legacy of some of the longer term organizations, and they can be much more nimble in getting into something that's considered completely organic or something like that. And in the circular economy, that's kind of another new buzzword that's out there. This is companies that make food products and beverage products. Where are your ingredients being sourced? Is that source sustainable? Are the growers that you're getting your materials from, like a free trade agreement, all the different types of organizations that are out there to make sure that you're buying product that is grown in a sustainable, organic fashion? How do you automate and capture information? How do you reduce the amount of waste that you have in your product and ensure that it's, can go into a landfill safely or be recycled safely? So that's kind of the word they use to describe that. And then sustainability is part of that whole circular economy. And again, it comes down to a lot of transparency and tracking. If you look at one, there's the sustainability of palm oil. That's a certification that requires manufacturers to demonstrate that they're using sustainable palm oil in their products. And that requires understanding what the balance is between their sustainable and non-sustainable oil usages monthly, and then be able to report that to maintain their certification. So a lot of things that affect food and beverage manufacturing.